What's up, beautiful creatives of the world? Welcome to this free live workshop, 50 Ways to Lay Down Paint. My name's Jake Dunn. This is...
Dimitra Milan Dunn.
Dimitra Milan Dunn. And we are super excited to teach you guys 50 different ways to lay down paint in this workshop. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to be creating an abstract from start to finish with all 50 different ways to lay down paint. And there's going to be a lot of fun stuff going on. So we're going to work from wet to dry. We're going to work from flat to up on the easel. But before we get started, we just want to share with you guys real quick our stories. So if you don't know who we are, why should you even watch this and listen to these random people on YouTube? So real quick, just to get started, we got some slides over here, our story. So Dimitri's going to start.
So I grew up in an artist family, and I was always really creative. I learned everything from my parents. They are both professional artists. And yeah, I just grew up in that environment. So at the age of 15, I got into my first gallery, sold a bunch of work there, had my work got published in the newspaper, and then from there, I got picked up by a publisher and started selling my work internationally in galleries all over the U.S. and sold $1 million worth of art in the first year.
And then she dropped out of high school.
So now I'm a full-time artist and business owner, and I've been selling work for the past 10 years, and now I mostly sell online and through our own gallery that we have here in Sarasota. So I really focus on selling direct to collectors, and through being part of our school, I started teaching in 2018 and started co-teaching the master program with my mom. And I've really fallen in love with just sharing what I've learned throughout the years and seeing other artists' light bulbs come on and just fall in love with the process too. So I really love seeing artists like develop their own style and skills. And I love teaching and mentoring students on how to turn that into a profession. So I do that through teaching the master program. And yeah, today we have a lot of techniques that we're going to distill in just an hour and a half. So we have created a very long list for you guys of all sorts of different ways to lay down paint. 50 ways might seem like a lot to you, and it's going to go by quickly, but 50 ways is just the beginning. There is limitless amount of ways to lay down paint. And the more techniques that you guys learn and the more you experiment and try all these different tools that we're going to share with you, and all the different materials out there, you're going to find there's limitless possibilities and so many different ways to express yourself. So the goal, I hope that you guys walk away with this just feeling really inspired and find some new techniques that you want to incorporate into your work. And like Jake said, we're just doing an abstract, but who knows what this will turn into. So.
Sorry about that. Mild panicking on my part. When technical things go wrong, it's not fun. But we have the slides now. So my name's Jake Dunn. I took the mastery program in 2019, and I fell in love with the artistic process. I became an artist myself, and really, I fell in love with helping artists in addition to that. So I got to take the mastery program the very last time that it was in person. And I took it with all these different other artists around me, and I watched all of them just blossom and come into themselves as not just artists, but as human beings. And so that really inspired me. So I got deeply involved with marketing and the business side for Milan Art Institute after I graduated. And after several years of becoming really involved, and in addition to marrying Dimitra, I became a co-owner of Milan Art Institute. So now I spend all my days learning how to get better at business and marketing, so that I can share some of that information with you, the artist who's watching this. So in addition to that, I'm an artist, like I said before, but I'm a husband and a father as well to a beautiful 2-year-old. He's not 2 in that picture. So how did Milan Art Institute start? Well, first of all, Dimitra's mom founded Milan Art Institute in 2010, and they had a bunch of artists who were asking them, how did they have such a successful career? Because they were professional artists for 25 years at that time, or maybe a little bit less at that time. But they kept asking them, how did they do it? How did they get started? And if they would teach them. So they decided to put everything they knew into Milano Institute and into the mastery program. And in 2010, as I said before, the Milano Institute was born. After that, after 4 years of teaching artists, they were able to take all the information that they'd gained from teaching these artists in different workshops, portfolio boot camps, which is what helped Dimitra launch her career and find her style, and put that into the mastery program. So then we had students from around the world coming to a little town in Queen Creek, Arizona,
all over the world
to learn. So it was Australia, the Netherlands, Ukraine, and this giant wait list of students began piling up, and people who wanted to take the program, people who were hearing about it by following Dimitra, by following the school on Instagram or Facebook. And it was sad that they weren't able to help all these artists. So they decided to film it and take it online in 2018. And now we've had over 6,000 students take the mastery program around the world in over 100 different countries. And it is super awesome and fulfilling getting to help artists all the time. So that's what we do now. In addition to having a gallery where we sell art, of course, and Dimitra sells her art on her website in addition to that as well. So.
Okay, so let's get to it. We have a lot of different things we want to share with you guys. So I'm going to be mostly sharing and explaining the techniques, and Jake is going to be kind of like, I don't know, we're going to be collaborating, but he's going to be kind of like the student, or going to be taking like what I'm doing and do it himself as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this will be really a fun format, and I'm excited. So first, I just want to share about the tools that we're going to be using. So the more tools you guys have, the easier and, more expressive this will be. So we are going to start with just a chip brush. So this is part of our Fearless set because we also sell art supplies. So we have a whole line of different art supplies. Then I got some extra big brushes just for fun. This is a
silver.
Yeah, an Atelier Hake brush. I think that's how you say it. This is goat hair, and I really just like to use this for very wet, thin paint. Definitely not using this with thick acrylic or oils, just kind of water-based thin paint. We have a brayer. We have a variety of brushes here. And I think we have a few more that we will get out. And then a bunch of palette knives and scraper tools. This catalyst tool here is one of my most used tools. You can use this for so many different things, for collaging, to spread modeling paste. And yeah, it's kind of a really much needed tool in my studio. So yeah, we can just quickly show these slides. There's tons of these catalyst tools out there. This one with the flat edge is my favorite, but there's some with some more like decorative edges that create different lines and shapes. So we'll also be using a spray bottle to show different techniques as well, and just regular alcohol. So this is 91% isopropyl alcohol, and that one just reacts best with the paint. So yeah, we'll show that too. Okay, so we also have a list that we are going to provide you guys. This is the 50 ways to lay down paint list. And we're going to start with the wet processes first. So that we're going to start flat on the table and kind of make a big drippy mess. And then we'll continue to the easel.
Oh, and one other thing that we should add is that we have, in the spirit of abstract, we have not prepared really anything other than the materials, but we do have prepared these different really interesting images for source inspiration. I actually made all of these on Midjourney, and then what happened was they were landscapes, and I was trying to print them, but I accidentally put the printer paper upside down, and it just created this really interesting kind of glitched effect where certain things completely
looks like an
washed
abstract
out.
Painting. Really super cool.
Yeah. So we're going to use this as inspiration.
Yeah. So I find with abstracts, like it is hard to just completely paint out of your head and not have any sort of color palette or plan in mind. So having some kind of source to go off of, or just a color palette at least, a simple composition will help you guys if you're also going to be painting along or trying this technique and create your own abstract. So I do recommend finding some kind of source for inspiration.
Which one is that one your favorite?
I do like this one a lot, but I like the colors and composition in that one. I just like these tree shapes. So I'm going to probably combine a few. Now we do need a jar of water.
Okay.
Or a bucket. Okay. All right, so the first thing is we're going to work flat on the table. And I'm going to start with this really big Ake brush.
You can.
So for paint-wise, the materials we're going to be using, we have our paint here. These are just regular heavy body acrylics. And then I have golden high flow acrylics. I love these because they react really nicely with water and the paint goes a long way. So it's especially fun when you're working flat. You can get a lot of good flow happening, and I think it just, yeah, they look really nice. Thank you. So I'm going to start by wetting the canvas. You can also just pour a little bit of water.
Do you like to work when the canvas? Like, do you like to prepare the canvas with abstracts?
So this canvas is just as it comes from the store. It's just primed canvas. Sometimes I'll work this way, but most of the time I will prepare it with a modeling paste. That's a good question. I mostly am an oil painter, so I like to have like a non-thirsty canvas, and that's just what my preference is. But I wouldn't say there's, a wrong way of doing it. I think ink does kind of work better when you have just the primed canvas. It soaks in a little bit better. So you can kind of, maybe this one needs, okay. So you can pour the paint and let it bleed. That's its own kind of effect. You can splash it, kind of just let it go straight into the water.
I wish we had a counter on the screen, or like a whiteboard.
We're honestly probably going to do more than 50 ways to lay down paint. So this is just a good base.
I was saying I wish we had a screen, all the different
So with this brush, there's all kinds of things you can do. With every single tool here, you want to just get into a good habit of using that brush to like all of its abilities and really try multiple ways. So you can use just the corner of a brush. You can use the very tip of it to get like a, here.
like a fanned out look.
Yeah, if you just get like a good amount of ink there with not a lot of water, you can get a more defined mark like that. Kind of looks like a tree trunk in a way.
That's how you do it. Hey, Brandon, would you mind grabbing a bigger bucket? Thank you. Big enough to fit this brush. I did not do that.
That's okay. We're only going to use this brush pretty much in just the beginning. So yeah, I like doing that a lot to get some really interesting marks. And it just looks like very organic, and it's fun to just drag it across the canvas, see what happens. You can also, so I think the first one was drip and tilt, right? So you can tilt your canvas to get drips. I think letting this part of the first, underpainting layer, let it just be really loose and free, and not having too much of a plan is nice. You don't have to overthink it. And I'm making a mess all over the floor.
It's okay. We got a rug there for a reason.
So you just kind of want to play around and see what you like. I like this kind of what do you call that? How all the colors are melting together here. This blue running into the brown, I think that looks nice. So I'm just gonna, when you like it, you can just let it lay flat so it kind of stays in place.
And the abstract's done. Thank you guys for joining this workshop.
Okay, what else? What is next on the list?
So we have spray bottle diffusion.
Yes. Okay.
Misting water over the wet paint.
So you can, of course, use a squirt bottle in many different ways. You can kind of just get an area very wet, let it drip.
Dimitra, what's the point of learning so many different ways to lay down paint? Like, why should an artist want to have these various techniques in their tool belt?
Well, I think it'll help you just be a stronger artist in the end and really be able to express yourself and narrow down which techniques and processes really work for you so that you can find your own sort of combination of all these things to create a very unique style and voice. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good in the beginning phases to just, explore and try all these different things until you find what you really love. Because if you have a very limited experience and you just know one medium and one technique of painting, how do you know that that's all that there is for you? Because you have so much potential. There's so much out there. So by learning all these different things, you'll be able to truly express yourself from a place of strength rather than a default mode.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that skipping ahead? Or?
No. This is
okay.
On the first page.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's put some more paint, though.
Yes. It's really fun to use a roller because it creates a sort of a different effect that you might not get otherwise. It can create this like pooling look.
Yeah, and it is different when the paint's thicker. We're going to use the roller later when we have really thick paint. So this is going to be a totally different look working into the wet.
And it can create this interesting wipeout look. You can scrape with the roller, drag with the roller. You could even hold the roller still, and drag like that. Mm-hmm. It's fun. Fundamentally, I think the whole point, like Dimitra was saying, is being able to express yourself better, right? Having fun with the creative process will make you want to create even more. That's the whole point of painting, is so that you can tap into the joy that exists within the process. Whoa, that is so much fun.
So this is the alcohol step.
Thank you.
This works really well with inks, with wet paint. So when you have a good solid color down, then you can just tap a little bit or spray with a squirt bottle alcohol. You can also try painting into it. So this is a great technique if you want a starry background or you have an underwater theme going. This is great for backgrounds. So sometimes you have to do multiple layers for this to really stay. So while there's a perfect time for this where the paint is drying, but it's not quite dry yet. So having kind of just being patient with it and trying it lots of different spots in your painting. This is working really well, and some of these are kind of melting away.
So this is a fan brush that Dimitra's using, just in case you're wondering. And it also, in case you're wondering, this is a pre-primed canvas that we got, and it's 24 inches by 24 inches from Michaels. I believe it's a level 3.
Okay, I'm kind of going off the list.
That's okay. This
next?
is just here for guiding.
Yeah. I do want to show more with this brush, so you can do a lot of things with the fan brush. Let's see. Do we have black? Well, I'll just add some white on here.
That's interesting is reverse stenciling, so placing objects in wet paint and then removing them to reveal a mask shape. I don't know how well that would work for this, but
yeah, we can try. So stencils are a fun exercise.
You should try putting that and then doing the alcohol on top of it.
Yes, that's a good idea. we do that. So when you have wet ink like this, sometimes it's fun to just add like a very light opaque color into the dark.
Try brushing the alcohol, create an interesting bleed effect.
So this, what I'm doing right here, this is like a more manipulated like marbling technique. So dragging your brush through the opaque into that darker transparent area, you can get kind of like this marbling effect.
Pretty cool. Okay, this is basically it for the flat processes. Now we get to contend with tilting it up and letting it drip.
So normally, if we weren't working in just an hour and a half, I would probably let this layer dry and maybe use a heat gun or put it outside. Let it lay flat if you love how this looks. Let it dry completely. So sometimes this process just takes a lot of patience. But now we're just going to tilt this and let it drip. Let's think about what direction.
I was thinking like this way towards us because we've been more, I mean, whatever.
I was going to do this.
That way. Okay. You're the captain.
I like this area being open.
Wow, look at that. So this is a whole way of letting paint lay itself down.
I ruined my sources. Oh well.
And so far, we really haven't even been following the sources except very loosely for color inspiration, I would say. Like there's almost no derivative of the sources to be found in this, maybe.
Okay. So this is kind of like the drip and tilt, like letting this just do its thing. And you can also squirt into it. Like this area is looking a little muddy to me, so I'm just going to kind of get that back to white. So there's so many methods to adding paint. You can also subtract paint to get lots of different techniques. Sorry, not techniques, but
Effects. Yeah.
So you can take your paper towel and I should probably look at this source to get some kind of composition in.
Yeah, I was looking at that one too. I think that's good.
Okay. So you can just kind of subtract a little bit. Having a paper towel, you can get all kinds of different patterns, like stamping. I don't know if I want to use alcohol.
Okay. If you wanted to lift up even more paint, then you would use alcohol.
Oh, yeah. You can dip like a Q-tip in there or something. Yeah, so Q-tips are a great way of subtracting. And so you can dip that into the alcohol and kind of draw with the paint.
You could also use a catalyst tool to drag through wet paint. I like to do it on cleaner colors, but that being said, there's no rules. You could do whatever, create little, very small effects. I actually really enjoy using these catalyst tools with spray paint. That's what is dried on here. I didn't clean it off ahead of time. Typically, it's a bit more user-friendly when you clean it off, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to use spray paint with this process because, and we use water-based, like either sugar spray paint or Montana spray paint, a bit easier to use indoors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun because the spray paint will drip a lot slower. It has a higher viscosity or a lower viscosity, I guess. And so it kind of moves around, but you have a limited amount of time and it kind of dries in these different layers so that you can peel away a bit of spray paint. It's a lot of fun. I just recommend get some spray paint. No. It's a little bit dry right now for using this, but that's okay. Isn't it crazy how fast that dries? Like,
Yeah,
That's
I really
so wild.
love so much of what's happening already.
Yeah.
Yeah, abstract painting is definitely, I think, pretty like more difficult because you could go so many different directions, and I have a hard time deciding like what I want to get rid of, what I want to keep, and I'm definitely in my normal process lean on like less is more to try to let like very thin layers show, and I don't really go too heavy with the paint. So Jake and I are very opposite when we paint. So
Yeah.
we'll have an interesting result today.
That's why she's just like mostly leading, and I'm going to assist every now and then.
Okay, so what's next? We have dragging a catalyst tool. Okay,
I just
so
did
we
that.
will do the Brayer and catalyst tool with some thicker paint. So I have just some heavy body acrylics and a little bit of fluid acrylic squirted out. And I'm probably going to keep adding more. Ooh, that needs to be
Shaking up.
shaken up. Yeah.
I am the magician's assistant. You are making magic.
Okay, so using this to paint with is a lot of fun. And just, you can mix different colors. I just like how that looks even just on the glass. So I'm going to look at the source here and just try to get some of these shapes in, get like the horizon line. So I like to, you can experiment with different amounts of paint. So you can get like a thick amount down and then really scrape into it.
Can I do black? Or is that nerve-wracking?
It's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Like right here.
Okay, just go for it. Just do what you want to do.
Oops.
Oh, our easel's
Let me
moving
lock
away.
the wheels first.
Okay. So I'm going to get this a little bit more wet. So even just that kind of going into the drips there is really cool. Oops.
Okay.
So just dragging this down, you can pick up the texture in the canvas. Or, like I mentioned before, you can really scrape it and push down, push across to get more like a solid line. You can also stamp with it to get like straight lines. So there's a lot of things you could do with this catalyst tool.
It's definitely amazing for creating visual texture. That was awesome. I love that. You guys just see like how you can be so expressive with all these different ways, and we're like not even halfway done yet. Are we gonna do finger painting?
Sure. Is part of the list. I don't normally finger paint, but a lot of artists like do like using their hands, especially, I don't know, I've seen some people on Instagram like really do the first layer with their hands, and then that's like a good underpainting. So I sometimes just use like one or two fingers to just like smudge some oil paint to kind of blend some areas.
Yeah.
But we don't have oils today. We're just going to do acrylic so it can dry faster. So go ahead if you want to. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit more with the roller, the brayer. There's a lot of ways to use this, and I think this is so great for backgrounds. And if you're just stuck on a piece, you don't know how to kind of solve a background composition, you want it to be interesting, but you don't really want to rely on, I don't know, just a plain brush. Having this is a great tool. So we will just start adding some thick paint on here. Just gonna mix kind of like a nice sky color. Okay, let's see.
Sky?
I think so.
Abstract sky?
So you can lightly press down with this, and you want to experiment with different, like where you put the paint. So I have it all piled up on one side, and let's see, I'm gonna do it right here. You can like really push it in there to get something solid, or just kind of lightly drag it through wet paint, and it will just pick up some texture, but leave some areas more transparent.
Our goal with this workshop is to have you leave exploding with ideas. With abstracts, it's really important to create some form of resting space within the abstract. So like
Yes,
usually
very true.
you'll work from very messy to loose. Especially in my process, I will create an absolute mess and then just work in layers and then, refine over time through layering. Neutra kind of has like a more beautiful process where typically her artwork, it looks good the entire process.
That's very sweet of you. But I think like there is always a messy stage, and it is good to, work very loose to tight so that you leave that really effortless, artsy part of it to show in some areas. Because if you start the whole painting very tight and controlled, then that's just what the end result will look like. It won't have this kind of unplanned, effortless feeling. Okay, let's see what's next. So lifting paint with a rag, we kind of did that.
Palette knife?
Palette knife, yes. There's so many different things you can do with. We haven't even gotten to brushes yet, so we will at some point get to brushes. But
I was just thinking that.
yeah, we've been using all the other tools. So within palette knife, there are a lot of different palette knives out there. This one right here is probably my favorite that I use for my paintings, and then just this regular one. You can get more detailed marks just using the tip of it. But there's some of these fun ones. I think these are from your studio. So having this decorative edge, like you can get some really interesting shapes or patterns. There's this one that has like a very fine pattern. So you can find online all kinds of different palette knives to leave different marks. So this is another subtraction tool. I'm not sure if that is even on the list.
No, I don't think it's on the list.
Okay, but I use this a lot, and like I mentioned before, instead of just applying paint, pulling away the paint, you can create really cool marks. So this works best while your paint is very wet, of course. So you can get, like draw into the paint, scratch it, and pull away some of those layers. Okay, I'm gonna just keep using this brush a little bit more. I want to get some cool lines with this. So just kind of spreading apart the fan so that it has, more lines to work with.
And as Demetra said before, we have barely used brushes so far. So if you're, an artist who only uses brushes in their process and you feel like maybe a bit tight and controlling sometimes with your brushes, and you're holding your brushes, up close to the edge and you're not using big brushes, right? This type of process might help you feel more freedom in that. And then, it's not to say that being tight with brushes is bad. It's just what is the end result that you're going for. If you're going for a more effortless, loose look, kind of like Demetra was talking about before, where you work from, messy to refined, then you would want to bring in those brushes at the end of the process, right? you wouldn't start with a small brush in the beginning because that would take a really long time to cover the whole area of the canvas.
So this is really great for getting patterns in there. And like, you know, there's limitless ways to use this, but just using like the middle part of the brush, you can get a more fine lines closer together. Using the edges, you can get, you know, thicker lines. Trying different various amounts of pressure will create different brush strokes. So if I push down, it's a little bit more like a dry brush technique, which we will get to in a little bit.
I totally forgot to mention before too that this is actually totally live. I did mention that at the very beginning, but we also have a live chat. And so earlier with the whole computer shenanigans, you know, panicked, forgot about the live chat. So we also are going to be looking to answer some of your questions throughout this as well. So I will be turning my attention towards that as Dimitra continues to teach and help process some questions.
Ask us anything that you're wondering about. Just put it in the chat. So
Creator Holic literally just asked, would the fan brush work with alcohol on it dragged through the wet paint?
I bet that
Let's
would be
try it.
That'd be really cool. Here, let me add some wet paint right here.
Yeah, here. And then I'll put some alcohol down. That is a great idea. Love that idea. Here. The honors. Right there is alcohol.
I need to add some more paint first. Okay. So let me just get like a really...
Let me know if you guys are enjoying this. If you are, leave a like on the video.
Okay, so we are dipping this.
Stephanie wants to know, how do we dispose of acrylic paint water? Typically, we do it down the sink. I suppose if it was really gunky, we might put it outside in the rocks or something, but I think it's best disposed of in sewage. There's no like amazing way to dispose of it, but alas, it must be disposed of. So if you have really sensitive plumbing, then you might want to find a different solution for that. You could always let the water evaporate, I suppose, but typically we put it down into the sewer.
Okay, I'm gonna let that just dry a little bit. Let's see if it works better with the black paint.
Debbie wants to know, how compatible are the acrylic alcohol inks and tube acrylics?
Yeah, you can use them at the same time. I almost grabbed some, but it's just alcohol-based, so it will act like this, you know, alcohol that we're adding. So it'll kind of
repel.
Yeah, repel in those wet spots. But I do that all the time in my art when I'm doing some like acrylic flows, or I have a really like wet background. I like to use alcohol inks in there. So that's something really fun you can try. Okay, so let's see. That definitely works. It might work better flat. And if you have like a lighter background, so you have a more dramatic negative effect.
Oh, that's really cool. I love that.
It still works, and yeah.
It could be cool to like create shapes with it, like you're doing right there, sort of. Like if you wanted to create like a little island or a bubble of paint and like expose what's underneath, like just to show what I'm talking about. Do you have a smaller brush? Or I guess I could use a Q-tip.
Yeah, we actually need some more brushes out. If you could grab some.
Yeah, I could grab some in a second.
Okay, so stencil over stencil on damp paint. So we can go back to the stencils really quick. This is another great technique for a background if you're unsure on, you just want to add like a layer of interest, but you don't know what kind of marks to make. Just finding some stencils that you love and then A chip brush is probably a good brush to use for that. So I will take this and just go in with an opaque paint.
I've grabbed more paper towels as well.
So having a stencil like that is pretty fun.
Oh, that's so cool. Sorry, I missed it. How'd you do that?
Just painting with thick paint on top of it.
That's
But
really cool.
it definitely works on when you have like a more contrast background. So having a darker background with a lighter color, or a light color background with a darker color on top. This also works really great with spray paint. But if you don't have spray paint, we didn't grab that today. We're just going to stick with less materials. Sometimes having less materials, you can push yourself in those creative boundaries to really explore how many different ways you can use one tool.
Thank you so much, Paige.
So since there's a lot of paint on here, I'm just going to try stamping this. Well, it already dried, so there you go. But if this was still super wet, you could use that part of the stencil and just stamp it.
Seema wants to know if we're also going to use oils. Not in this workshop today, just because we would have to fully let the acrylics dry. And it would be too much time.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to 21 through 30, I believe. Manipulating paint on a drying surface. So that's basically what we have here. Most of this is dry already, dries super quickly here, but some of this is a little bit tacky. So we're just slowly adding more layers to this, getting thicker with the paint. I typically like to work from very thin, wet to thicker paint. So that's just a good process in general. So now we're going to move on to brushes, and I might still go back to some of these other tools, but we're going to focus on different brushes. So as you know, there's a whole variety of brushes out there, and the Filbert is probably one of my most used favorite brushes. There's just so many different things you can do with this. I love using this for portrait painting especially. It's really great to get different plane shifts on the face. But this big one here and this one is great for backgrounds, and I use this for glazing. So a glaze is when you take a transparent paint, mix it with some medium or a little bit of water, and you're going to just kind of drag that across an area. So I will show you that. So we'll do that with this big brush.
If you're watching this and you're a mastery program student, let us know in the comments. We love to shout out our students. Paige said that she is an art student of Milan Art Institute, worth every penny. Amazing. Someone earlier, sorry, let me find the exact question. Debbie Barnett wanted to know, how do you mix the abstract effects with the realism? I paint a lot of wildlife and landscape. So this is a more complicated subject, for sure, but how might you give some sage wisdom briefly on
mixing abstract with realism?
Yes.
Well, I believe we have a few courses on that too.
Yeah.
So I would say it's going to be a similar technique to what I'm doing now. You could take a background like this and then layer an image on top. And it's really all about, I think, getting that style down comes down to you having good self-control and knowing when to cover something and when to leave something alone. So if I were to do like a portrait over this, It's hard to say because I don't have that picture right now, but
I can imagine a profile. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I might leave some of this pattern or like some of these lighter areas. I would let that show through and be the underpainting for some skin tones, where I just might like leave some lighter brush strokes for highlights and let this kind of be part of the shadow, part of the portrait. So there's a lot of ways to blend abstract with realism, but just something simple to give you would be to work on the whole painting at the same time and not treat the background so differently from your subject matter. So to really blend the two, working on both of them simultaneously and kind of blending the edges into the background, bringing some of the background element into your subject matter.
I think just to add my 2 cents in there, I think fundamentally abstract realism is about finding the essence of the subject matter that you're trying to capture and honing in on that, refining that, and then letting the rest kind of dissolve into abstraction. At least that's one way to go about it. I don't know if that's the way, but I think that's something that Dimitra does masterfully. It's why she's my favorite artist. And it's what I've noticed after watching her paint and countless of these workshops and different master classes and the mastery program that we have. It's something that she does so masterfully, is really distilling the exact essence of a subject and letting that be refined and almost nothing else. Or being loose with the rest, not nothing else.
So this is also not on the list, but I count this as laying down paint using a paint marker. This is solid marker from Sakura. I use these all the time, especially the black and white ones. They don't have too many colors, but this fluorescent orange is great for these mountains right here. So I'm just gonna show you how to use this really quick. And this is, because it's like a permanent marker, I don't exactly know what's in this, but you can use this with oil paint too. So this is one of those materials that you can kind of use at any stage of the process. Okay, so this is all pretty much dry. And I'm just going to kind of go off of the shape that's already kind of forming here. I really love these drips, so I'm gonna kind of just draw around that. Let this be the mountain horizon line.
Stephanie Nolan says that she's a master program student, almost done with part 1. Woohoo! And she wanted to know, do you ever use chunking hog bristle brushes?
I believe that's what this one is.
I don't know about chunking. I'm not familiar with that.
This is a hog bristle brush, and I don't use them that often because I mostly stick with the soft brushes, and I just don't love the rough texture of this. I feel like it really scrapes the paint in a way that like I don't like, but for
your mom loves them.
Yeah, my mom like uses this brush all the time. This is her brush I grabbed from her studio. And it's very used. So she loves these brushes. She's more like aggressive with her laying down the paint. So everyone is going to gravitate towards different tools based on what they like. So that's a good thing. You want me to use this paint, Jake?
Oh, I just put it out because I thought it'd be nice.
Okay. We'll try some bright pink.
So yeah, I do.
I'll use this for now. Earlier, I didn't really explain what I was doing while Jake was talking, but I glazed this area. So I just used a transparent color with water to stain this. So you can still see all those marks and brush strokes, but I just stained the white of the canvas. So that's another technique. And I use that with the filbert. So I'm going to just kind of scrub and scumble in here So I think that's coming up, Scumbling. Okay, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I want to do that in this stage. So Scumbling is taking a, it actually is great with a hog bristle brush. So taking a stiffer brush, or if you have a really old frayed brush, then it's perfect for Scumbling. So you typically do not want to use something like this, or a nice soft filbert brush. You would kind of ruin that brush. So using a more stiff brush, and you want to use kind of like just the side of the brush and a very thick amount of paint with like no medium mixed in, no water, just pure paint. And using the side of the brush, just kind of scrubbing in very light areas, you'll pick up the texture of the canvas. And this is great for, you know, making a soft edge, working on something in the background, just, you know, creating a softer gradient area. So this technique here is dry brushing. So getting a very thick amount of paint on your brush and just dragging it across the canvas, you're going to pick up all the canvas texture. So I use a combination of dry brushing and scumbling all the time, just kind of go back and forth between the two when I'm refining an area. So the next thing I wanted to show you guys is we're definitely jumping all over on this list. And you're probably going to get more than 50 ways, but hopefully this is just going to be like a lot of information and a lot of different things that you can go off of. That one idea will spark 10 more ideas for you. So I'm going to show you double loading a brush. So I love doing this with oil paint and painting portraits when I'm working on skin tones, or just to create like a really fun brush stroke that is a little bit more bold and expressive. You can just use like a corner of the brush, get one color there, and then get another color in the middle, and then a third color on the edge. So you get like a really big scoop of paint there, and then you can just lay it down and kind of just try to do it in one brush stroke, so you're not blending anything. You're just letting that paint kind of mix itself optically on the canvas. So if you look close, there's just a lot of different textures and colors happening there. So that's a really fun technique when you just don't really mix the paint. You let it be really thick and kind of stripy like that. So I've moved to a square brush, and there's a lot of different marks you can get with this. You can just use the corner of it. I actually love using square brushes when I want a very fine line. If I'm doing whiskers on an animal or very fine line strands of hair, just using the very tip of a square brush is sometimes a lot easier than using like a very tiny liner brush. So I will show that. So you want to get a good amount of paint on both sides of the brush, and that way the tip is very, how to say that, square. there's a lot of paint there.
Vivek wanted to know earlier, and I know it was answered in the comments already or in the chat. Could you please tell me? Oh, okay. If we can make abstract paintings with oil paint or not. I just want to answer this live in case other people are wondering the same thing, and you absolutely can. The benefit of working with acrylics, though, or at least starting with acrylic-based paint, is that there's a lot of freedom and spontaneity, and you can move very quickly with acrylic paint and layer very quickly and iterate a lot faster compared to working with oils. Whereas the benefit with oils is that you can work with the paint a lot over a much longer period of time. And we have this artist in our gallery, Eric Robitaille, amazing artist. We've collected multiple of his paintings, and I was talking with him about his process, and he told me he actually really doesn't like to speed up the drying time of oil paint beyond using something like walnut oil, because he loves to just work with the paint and work into the paint. So it just kind of really depends on who you are as an artist, what is your temperament as an artist, whether you might like working with oil paints or acrylics more. In a lot of cases, we find that artists love working with both. They love starting with an acrylic base, and then once the acrylic's dry and they're done with that, then they layer oils on top of it. And I think that a lot of artists get sort of trapped in an identity that they are just an acrylic painter or just an oil painter. And I think it's really fun to experiment with a lot of different styles, as we've kind of talked about multiple times throughout this, and arrive at the ideal process for you. And that's something that we teach and emphasize very heavily in the mastery program, is exploring, widening your taste or your palette, let's say, and then refining on the process that is individual and unique to you as a person. Because all of us are different, and all of us have similarities at the same time. So, there's a lot of different processes out there to try, and you don't really know if you'd like it or not until you give it a shot. So that rhymed.
So with this brayer, again, I'm kind of trying different ways to use it, and very lightly rolling over a section, you can get that same dry brush technique in just a larger area. So if you want just like a more solid, uniform gradient background, this is a good way to do that. And yeah, there's a limitless ways to use every tool that we're sharing with you. And every time I use this, I just wonder why I don't use it more. It's a really fun tool. So I'm not really sure how I got those lines there, but I was kind of like stamping, getting a good amount of paint just like in one area, kind of going all different directions, so you get more of like an organic shape.
Someone wanted to know, how do you fix an area that's already dried and become muddy?
Well, that is going to be easy because once it's dry, you can turn it into anything. So you get mud when you mix complements together. So if you had like a red and green mix or purple, yellow, blue and orange, if those kind of muddled together, then you'll get like a brown grayish mixture. So I would, when it's dry, just go over with whatever color you wanted. And if you use an opaque color, then you'll cover up everything underneath. So make sure that you use just a good amount of paint. Sometimes mixing too much water into your paint will create mud. So I don't like to mix a lot of water into my opaque colors. That gets muddy very quickly. You typically just want to mix water with transparent colors so they stay, transparent. So we are slowly bringing this abstract into something more, I don't know, like landscape, but I'm liking it. And I think this background, like we got to work on the horizon line to bring this mountain forward.
So how would you go about working on the horizon? What's the strategy?
I am going to paint a very light purpley blue back here, pretty solid.
Create a
with
more
a brush.
crisp distinction.
Yes, exactly.
Solid line.
So
Sounds good.
let me find the right brush.
Donna Thompson says, hi, Demetra and Jake, Mastery Program student. Part 1, love you guys. Love you too. Susie wants to know if you're going to varnish this when you're finished. If so, what sort of varnish do you use and what is the purpose of varnishing?
Yeah, we will varnish this. I don't know about today, but we sell a really great acrylic varnish, and it's also an acrylic medium. We should have been using it. It's really fun to use.
Yeah, I could find some in your mom's studio.
Yeah, we have some in here. So that varnish you can do multiple times. You could do it when you're completely done, and then let's say you wanted to continue working on the painting, then you could paint right on top of it, varnish it again. You can also use an oil varnish on an acrylic painting, definitely not the other way around, but whoops. The reason you want to varnish is just to really protect your piece, and just, if it got dusty one day, like you could take a rag and wipe it and nothing would peel away. So putting a good varnish just seals your piece, makes it a little bit shinier, makes the colors richer. I think it always looks nice, especially for oil paintings. I think it's very important. So yeah, this is our acrylic medium and varnish.
More brushes. Coming together. One thing I really like to do that I learned from her dad is when I'm looking at a painting and it's in an abstract phase, I'm trying to understand what needs work. Squint my eyes.
Squint.
You just kind of stand back a little bit and you're like, wow, that's busy.
Is it too busy?
It's pretty busy.
Okay. Well, hopefully what I'm doing will help it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help it. I think this part right here needs to like chill out too. To kind of make this like the busy zone. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and there's so much like also just taste wise, like there's so many different directions this could go.
Like if you look at the source here, this is kind of like busy zone, right?
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to have some more solid color blocks within it too.
Yeah.
And then down here can be like the foreground, right? And this mid-ground can kind of be a bit more muted, or not muted, but have more resonance.
So now I'm doing like a combination of dry brushing over the stencil area. This is kind of unifying it, helping it not feel so like this and that. And so yeah, I'm dry brushing, picking up the textures there. And also just trying to paint pretty solid with the square brush, laying some solid brush strokes down to help this mountain pop forward a little bit.
I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize in advance. But Antia, maybe I got that right. I don't know. Is a mastery program student as well. Has learned tons in the program. Unfortunately, though, stuck in part 2, the mixed media and voice section. And started before coaching was included. Now funds are a little tight and not able to, I'm assuming, upgrade to get the group coaching, $100 a month, if you're a previous mastery program student. New mastery program students, it is included, yes. But any advice how to get unstuck? So I guess it really
Yeah.
does depend on like where you're stuck or why you're stuck.
Yeah.
That will be the biggest advice, is getting really precise on what is your sticky point, what is holding you back. A lot of times it's something internal, and it's something like within the heart that I've found that needs to experience some sort of transformation in order to get stuck, especially if you're in the voice section, and in the mixed media, and you're trying to find your voice, you're trying to find your process. There's some soul work that needs to happen. But I don't know. This is literally not knowing you at all, giving completely generic advice. And the advice that you'd get more specifically would depend on what you're stuck on. So if you want to write that in the chat, happy to go into that deeper. Okay, and now our customer service friend, Constantino, wants to ask some questions on behalf of you guys.
Hi. So a lot of you are wondering about the acrylic medium varnish that we have. So a lot of you didn't hear or see that product. So that's actually a product that we offer on our online art store. And it helps while you're painting or after you've completed an acrylic-based painting. And Dimitra, they're wondering, and Jake, what you prefer, satin, gloss, or matte?
I like gloss personally. I just think glossy looks nice.
It is a preference thing, though.
Yeah, it totally is. And it depends on your painting. This one is
gloss, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
And some features or benefits of using acrylic medium varnish as a part of the process, just to read it straight off the label, is 1, it boosts adhesion and viscosity. 2, it can prolong color brilliance. Sounds good. 3, it can enhance transparency and clarity. 4, it can intensify color tinting. And 5, it's waterproof once dry. Although most paint is acrylic paint.
Making it more busy, huh?
Bobby wants to know, at what point would you use cold wax medium, not cold max, cold wax medium, and why?
So that would be for oils, and you would mix that in one of the like middle to final stages of your painting when you're finishing it. It all depends. Like if you're doing a whole palette knife painting, then I think it's best to use it with a palette knife. So if you're just adding a touch of that in your painting, definitely the middle to end stage of it. Or you could use it the whole time if you're just doing a very thick impasto style painting. But yeah, I hope that answers that.
Kelly wants to know, is there a Carnage crayon that can be used on top of oil? I believe, yeah, just there's oil pastel. They have Carnage oil pastels, right?
Yes, I have a whole box of them. They're really fun to use. So let's get back to 50 ways. I think we've probably already done 50 ways. But,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to kind of get this looking a little better, and I'll do my best to explain exactly like my thought process on doing that. I'm dry brushing a little bit, kind of adding some thicker paint with a square brush. You won't see me blending a lot. I don't like to do that with acrylic. I think it's very hard to blend in acrylic. So that's more for oil, but just mixing on my palette or doing that kind of buildup where I have a few colors on my brush and then just laying it down. That's what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of just placing brush strokes with the form and the mountain that I'm seeing.
If you had 5 hours to work on this painting, what would you do? And maybe what would you do different?
I would continue refining with acrylic, but then I would switch to oil to refine it because oil is very alive and rich. You can get more depth with it. So yeah, I would switch to oil paint and probably do the majority.
And what does refining specifically look like to you?
Very clean edges and distinction between the form and like showing background, middle ground, foreground, having a lot more like detail in the mountain.
Focal?
Yeah, a good strong focal point. So I think you can still get there with acrylic. But when you learn oil painting, you will really love how far you can go with that because you can get very detailed and very precise on exactly what you want to paint. So like Jake mentioned earlier, just using acrylic is going to help you loosen up, and you can definitely be more intuitive, act in the moment. It's more forgiving because it dries quickly. So you can just keep layering and create a really fun underpainting, or I mean, it could be a finished painting. You don't have to go to oil, but yeah, acrylic definitely gives you a lot more variety because you can mix it with other water-based mediums and materials.
Donna wants to know, how do you keep from getting paint on yourself? I look like an abstract painting, especially when I'm in my right brain.
I got paint on myself.
I think she probably means on your clothes.
So sometimes it happens, but I don't know, I've really tried hard to not ruin my clothes.
It's just being aware of where your hands are, kind of. And like when your hands have wet paint on them. I don't think, in the past I got a little bit of paint on this shirt, but yeah. I don't think we...
So I'm going to go back to Scumbling for a little bit.
Oh, it's looking a lot better.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So Scumbling, this kind of thick paint here is going to pop it forward. And I'm just playing off of these shapes I'm seeing here in my source.
Gabriel wanted to know, do you have a focal point in mind?
I actually haven't thought about it yet.
I think over here wants to be the focal point.
Probably.
Yeah. But what you're doing now is creating a nice like counterfocal for the eye to move around the canvas by having that like variety of texture or visual texture.
I'm making it busy again.
Well, I would say this is busy, like, because there's a lot of small little intricacies that you can find within it. But then this is actually less busy, I would say, because it's solid paint. It definitely needs some highlights, which is what you're doing now. Definitely the right move. Because it's a lot of midtones and not too many darks. So when you're creating abstract art, it's really important to have that variety and balance. So you want a balance of, and balance doesn't necessarily mean 50-50, right? But it means resolution, I think. And you get resolution by having a little bit of everything in there, meaning, you know, some darks, some highlights, or some brights, and then midtones within it, and finding a way to resolve that so it's not equal and like spread out balanced, but there's a bit of highlights to balance out the midtones, and there's a little bit of darks or a lot of darks, right? There's so many different ways that you could go, but to create a grounding within the painting.
Okay. Earlier I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it. I don't like to mix thick paint with this brush. This is a better like watercolor ink brush, but I want to try it just because of how wide this is. I'm going to kind of dry brush this whole area to get it really even out. And I'll just wash it really good right after.
So Penny Woodward says, I am a mastery student and I have a friend who's going to join. Woo woo! You are an influencer. She's wondering what other brands we would recommend besides our own Milan paint for acrylic. She has a ton of paints. I love Golden.
Yeah,
Golden's a
Golden's
great.
very good.
Rembrandt has some good colors too.
Utrecht brand, which Blick sells. Utrecht brand acrylic is very good, but Golden is definitely just like a solid.
Oh yeah,
everyone likes Golden.
love Golden. Da Vinci's good. Okay, Debbie Barnett says, selling art is a tough gig in my area. It's got me feeling a little burnt out. Okay. Sorry that you're feeling burnt out. Definitely can understand, especially if you're trying stuff and it's just not really working in your area. The beautiful thing is that now we are not only confined to the boundaries of our city that we live in, but I would say that if you're not having fruit or favor with your local area, maybe you live somewhere where, there's just people who can't afford original art or to buy art, or culturally they don't buy art as much, I would shift your focus to online, shift your focus to Facebook groups, shift your focus to promoting through social media, creating content around your art there, telling your story online, working on building, an email list, creating a unique, valuable proposition to get people onto that email list other than just a newsletter, right? So many people have newsletters, but you have to have something more than just a newsletter if you want to get people to actually engage and sign up for it, I believe. So you have to offer value and really enumerate what that value is, right? For the school, we have Motivational Monday. For Dimitra, it's Dear Dreamer. So it's all about inspiration. Ellie is Artist Odyssey. So it's about the artistic journey and her odyssey as an artist. And, there's a lot of other examples too, but John is Freezy Fridays, where he sends a playlist every single week, a brand new playlist of music in addition to updates about his art. So it's like adding some sort of interesting spin on a newsletter, right? And I'm kind of zeroing in on email, but it's really important and valuable if you're selling artwork online to have an email list, because that's what you own, right?
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you. Whereas, with Instagram or YouTube even, or other platforms, you do run the risk of becoming deplatformed, and you will have to adapt to changing algorithms and ways that they show content to people. But fundamentally, if you want to grow online, you have to figure out who you want to sell to and what it is that is interesting that you have to offer them. Because it's not just posting your artwork that's going to attract people. It's figuring out, it's making content for a very specific type of person, finding your niche, and really seeking to serve that audience. And in the beginning, a lot of times it looks like, going wide and figuring out, trying a lot of different things, see what works, right? And then once you do find something that works that also resonates with you and overlaps with what you actually want to do, then it's doubling down and zeroing in on that. And I learned this from a super cool guy online named Alex Ramosi, who actually got to meet in person at a workshop in Vegas. Super cool. He told me when it's easy, go hard, right? So when you find something that is easy, then you want to go hard on it. So you want to do it a lot. You want to double down on that and put your effort on the thing that does come easily to you, the thing that does produce fruit. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer to feeling stuck and especially on the business side, I totally understand if you're trying stuff out and it's not working, it can be really demoralizing. But there are ways to make it work, and it really is a matter of time. So much of business is really just trying to stay in the game, right? It's trying to be able to be in business long enough so that you can establish the trust over time. You can gather reviews from people who've bought your artwork. You can, have the validity so that you have credibility, and, it's easier for people to buy from you. Trust. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so if you're watching this and you're feeling really inspired, you feel like, wow, it's so fun looking at all these different ways of laying down paint, I'm super excited. Or if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, like, cool, thanks a lot for showing me 50 different ways to lay down paint. How do I actually apply that in my art? How do I actually make something good from start to finish? Hopefully this was helpful, but if you want more help, if you want to really figure out how to create beautiful artwork, you want to learn how to consistently, whenever you go to the studio, whenever you walk into your studio, you finally made time to paint and you get in there and you want to be able to sit down at your easel and be excited about painting, be excited about the process, and feel confident in what you're going to create, then we want to tell you about the Mastery Program. So if you want to hear about the Mastery Program, stick around because it really is an amazing program that has changed the lives of thousands of artists all over the world. Artists who have even been in the chat and have been testifying to the transformative power of the Mastery Program. I've taken the Mastery Program myself. I know what it's like to experience the transformation, not just in your artistic practice, but also in your life and your heart as a human being. I think, honestly, every single person on this planet should at some point play around with paint, or at least some creative medium, so that they can actually get to know who they are as an individual. And I think the Mastery Program is really the best way to do that. The curriculum is expertly designed through years of honing the curriculum by teaching artists in person and taking the feedback from artists and building that into a comprehensive curriculum that works for basically every single artist. We really haven't found many artists who have gone through it and not gained tremendous skill as a result of it, if they put in the work. That being said, if you don't put in the work, if you don't do the assignments, obviously nothing can be guaranteed, right? You have to do the assignments. But Mastery Program fundamentally is 250 plus video lessons. It's a really incredible course that starts out with oil painting and drawing and classical techniques. And then you go from oil painting and drawing and you learn how to paint with acrylics and mixed media, how to incorporate markers, how to incorporate spray paint, how to incorporate inks, how to incorporate all these different mediums and tools that you saw us use today, and so much more, including gold leaf and collage and just so many different mediums, markers and crayons, and really exploring all that mixed media art has to offer, or at least a very large portion of that. And then working towards, okay, you've got your classical foundations, you know how to create something realistically, you know how to deviate from that and create a mess that's beautiful and make something abstract. And where does your process lie on that spectrum? Once you get past there, that's where the voice section comes in. So it's figuring out, who are you as an individual? What is your temperament? What are your archetypes? What really makes you sing and makes your heart flutter with excitement or gives you peace inside? And how can you take all these different art supplies and these different techniques and these processes that you've learned and put them together, assemble them into something that is uniquely your own and create your own style. And that is, in essence, the mastery program. And it takes place over the course of a year if you take the video lessons at around 20 hours a week. So how it looks practically is you watch like 2 to 3 hours a week worth of lessons. They're actual videos. You can watch them at any time at your own pace from anywhere on your computer or even your phone. We do recommend you watch on your computer just so you have a bigger screen. You can AirPlay it to your TV. There's a lot of different ways that you can watch. And then there's around 10 to 15 hours or so of assignments per week, depending on the week and depending on the process, of course. So doing that will allow you to finish within a year. And I did forget to mention, though, there is a whole section for turning your artwork into a business, turning your art practice into a business, if that is what you're interested in. And that's totally included in the mastery program. So that's the last part of the mastery program. And even if you don't need the money, that's fantastic. But I think that there is a value in selling your artwork, even if you don't need to sell your artwork. Like, even if you're planning to just create artwork for yourself, I believe that your art is a gift to the world. And having that exchange of value between someone else, like, I've worked for this money, right? And I value your artwork, therefore I pay you for that artwork. Having that exchange happen between a collector and an artist is really powerful. It's a really amazing bond. And it makes the person value the artwork a lot more. I know that when we've collected artwork from other artists and it stretched us financially, it really does make you value that because it hurt a little bit, right, to buy it. And so, the same is true with education, right? Like, if you're thinking, man, the mastery program is a little bit outside of my budget, or, if hopefully it's well within your budget and it's, no sweat for you, right? We try to price it as affordable as possible. And I actually do have a really exciting announcement about pricing today that is going to help people who it is harder for them to afford the mastery program. And that is that we're introducing a whole new payment plan that's spread out over 2 years. So if you can't quite afford $330 a month, we do now have a 2-year payment plan. You will pay more. To be fully transparent, you will pay more over the total course of the program, but you are able to have lower monthly payments of $200 a month, which makes sense, actually, because you have access to group coaching that entire time. And so, yeah, that's the exciting announcement that I have for you today. And if you pre-enroll today in the mastery program, if you feel like, wow, I'm so excited about this, like, I just feel this tingling in my spirit. If you feel like this calling towards it or this like magnetism, this draw towards it, maybe you've heard about the mastery program from other artists, you've watched, tons of reviews that we have on YouTube at like over 50 plus reviews, artists who just take the program and want to share their experience about it. Or you have a friend going through it, or however you heard about it. Maybe you literally just heard about it today for the very first time, but you feel that inside you. Then I highly recommend that you pre-enroll because we do have a guarantee. It is a 30-day, no questions asked whatsoever, money-back guarantee. If you don't absolutely love it, and at the end of 30 days, after the mastery program starts, so more than 30 days from now, from the very first day that you get access to the program to 30 days after, then we'll give you your money back if you don't love it. So it really is a no-brainer because I believe it's world-class art education. It's like, we've heard from countless different artists that, the mastery program, some artists, I'm thinking of, what is her name from North Carolina? Abby Denlinger, an awesome artist, went through the mastery program, graduated. She went to Chicago Institute of Art. She went to 2 different colleges, and she said that she learned more in the mastery program than she did in her 4-year degree. And we've heard that countless times.
So
it's
many
not
times.
just
Yeah.
her as an isolated example. We've heard that from so many different artists. And we really pour our heart into it. And we're focused on not just making the mastery program a transaction, but building a relationship with artists forever. Even though you buy it once and you own it forever, you don't have to continue paying for it. You get lifetime access to the content. once you finish your payments. And we're actually updating the mastery program tremendously this year. And everyone who's bought it in the past is going to get access to that. We just finished editing. We're going through the final revisions of an entirely new course. It's actually, we talked about it internally. We were like, this isn't in the mastery program, so should we sell it and allow mastery program students to buy it? Because it wasn't a part of the original mastery program curriculum, so it's not really a part of, the mastery program as an update per se. But ultimately, our heart is to just be as generous as possible to artists, and we believe that fundamentally is a value system that you should be generous. And so we're giving all mastery program students access to that entire new course about acrylic painting that's coming out in the next couple months. And so not only that, but we're also adding watercolors to it too. We didn't teach watercolors at all. Demetra just finished filming a whole watercolor foundation course.
Yeah, which I'm
super exciting.
Very excited about that. I think it's going to turn out amazing, and it was a lot of fun.
We completely didn't cover at all in the mastery program in the beginning. It was purely just focused on oils, acrylic drawing, mixed media, and now we're going to be giving the watercolors as well, the whole entire course on watercolors to all mastery program students who've bought in the past and in the future as well. So the mastery program continues to be the gift that keeps on giving. And so if you really want to give yourself that gift that I think is the best investment that you can make in your art career, even if you don't want a career, in your artistic journey, it's the best investment in your artistic journey, then the mastery program is right for you. And I'm really excited to announce that we could just put it on the screen here. I'll just kind of blaze through these. We have some testimonials, but go to the pricing options that we do have that third option. It is $4,800 total, but it is only $200 a month over the course of 2 years. So that is the 2-year payment plan. We have a 1-year payment plan. The price is increasing starting next month from $3,960 to $4,200, but it's going from $330 a month to $350. Pricing strategy. Teach you about pricing. I'm so excited to do a whole update on the business section because we've learned. Anyways, super excited. And then if you do pay in full, we are incentivizing you to pay in full by offering savings up to $1,200 if you want to buy the mastery program outright and have lifetime access. So in addition to, what is included with this is all of those lessons, the entire program itself, but in addition, you also get group coaching. So we designed the mastery program to be a community and a social learning experience and not just an isolated online learning by yourself in your own studio type of thing. So,
which it can be that way if you want it to, but it's most people really love having this community and having coaches and mentors and getting that extra help.
Yeah, so when you do sign up for the master program, you get 2 years of access to group coaching, which basically allows you to have weekly check-ins on group Zoom calls with graduates who've gone through the program who are working on their own careers as artists, many of them in galleries, selling online through social media, selling on their own websites, really actually doing this, who are in the group and in the community, supplementing their art career by working with us and helping artists who are going through the program. And also, just by the way, that opportunity is available to graduates. So if you do graduate the program and you want to work with us and you love helping teach artists too, then that's definitely a path as well with us through the mastery program. So just to go back to group coaching, basically what you do is you post every single assignment in this dedicated private community that's just for mastery program students, and you're able to get every single painting that you submit critiqued, every assignment critiqued throughout the mastery program, which is, I think, incredibly valuable. And our mentors and coaches are trained on constructive criticism, not harsh criticism. So that's something really unique about our community, is that every person is really dedicated to the growth of art in general and the growth of artists individually through that, and pioneering art and bringing more beauty into this world. And we do that through excellence. We do that through mastery. And so that's what it's all about. So we have group coaching that's available. And if you want even more help, you want one-on-one guidance through the program, then we do offer personal mentoring. So you can upgrade and get a personal mentor at $200 a month as a subscription, and you get one-on-one daily messaging with one of our professional artist mentors and monthly one-on-one Zoom calls with them as well. I think it's an absolute steal because you are getting to leverage the experience that these artists have had throughout the mastery program into their own careers. Some of them selling tens of thousands of artwork every single year, and you get access to their answers to all of your questions throughout the mastery program for only $200 a month. Pretty crazy.
And that option is start and stop at any point.
So there's no commitment.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Thank you for bringing that up. You can continue with that as long as you want, even beyond the mastery program and when you graduate. And you can also stop that whenever you want. So we do recommend that you go through the mastery program with a mentor because there's so much learning that you're going to have. You're going to learn so much, and it's so helpful. But that being said, you do have group coaching regardless, and access to those groups. So our promise to you is you'll be blown away by how fast your skills develop. Literally within the very first week, you're going to be creating a beautiful bird painting in oils using classical subtraction technique. And our students are we hear time and time again in the very first week that they're just absolutely blown away. So that's our guarantee. You're going to be blown away in the very first week by how fast your skills develop. You're going to be able to create anything that you want with total freedom throughout the mastery program, not in the very first week, right? That's not possible. But by the end of the mastery program, if you really take it seriously, then you'll be able to create anything. Like anything that you can imagine. You will not be limited by your skills, only by your imagination. And even then we'll help teach you how to expand your imagination. So, and all of your doubts as to whether you're truly an artist will be eliminated, because we believe fundamentally every single human is an artist. Every single person is creative and has that creative spirit inside of them, and has something to say as an artist.
All that matters is if you have the desire, if you actually have that longing and feeling like you want to create and paint, then you can do it. That just says that you're an artist. So we 100% believe anyone can do this, and it doesn't matter what skills you already have. If you feel like you're not talented, none of that matters, because we've seen a whole spectrum of people take the mastery program at all different levels. And people who've gone to art school for many years and they learn so much, and also people who've never drawn before. Jake is a great example of someone who didn't think of himself as an artist, didn't know how to draw whatsoever, and he went into the program totally fresh, and he actually did it all in 4 months. So he did a very intense version of, that's just his personality. So and he did it in 4 months. So anything's possible with this, and it's all about that drive and how passionate you are.
So I just want to share some reviews that we've got from students. We have tons of reviews. I would say hundreds of reviews, not hundreds on the platforms, because we just put up these different reviews. And some of the reviews are for our live master classes, and they're all interjumbled and lesson learned there. But we have tons of reviews from mastery program students. And so what we hear time and again is that the mastery program changed my life. And so here's just a few that we have here. You can read them. And this is just an email that literally came the other day. Just really incredible. This artist was painting for 30 years and learned more in the first few classes than in the past 29 years.
Crazy.
It's really like an unlock, right? Like it's like you see or you don't see, and then you see, right? It's like this, it's almost like a 0 to 1 type of deal where you go from not getting it, at least I did, and a lot of artists, if you just don't get it, you just don't understand, to having it come into place so quickly and understanding in such a short amount of time, that you just get on fire. You just become so excited about creating art and about finding your voice and about, honestly leaving your mark on the world and like sharing what you uniquely have to offer with the world. And it's just so much fun. It's so empowering and it's so exciting and really a joyful process. I love it so much. And that's why I'm so passionate about promoting it, honestly. Because, fun. Okay, quick fun story. I've literally been up here selling for like the last 20 minutes, right? Like honestly, that's what's happening right now. So in case you weren't aware, I've been selling the mastery program, right? Full transparency, complete honesty, unashamed, really, because I believe in it genuinely. And it's hard not to believe in it when we've had so many people reach out to us. Literally, if you go online and you watch our last graduation, you will see, oh, I'm getting chills. You will see person after person in tears thanking Demetra and Ellie for how the master program's changed their life. Like it's not a joke. It is so magical, really. It's a really magical process. And just going back to the story, right? Rabbit, squirrel, whatever. Going back to the story, I used to sell skincare products. In college, I worked for a traveling skincare company. In the beginning, I thought that the products actually worked. Like I bought into it, those like different eye things that you put on. And like I was so good at selling it in the beginning because I would see it change this lady right before my eyes. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, look at the reflection in the mirror. Like, look at yourself. You look beautiful, right? And it was just so like convincing. And that's because I believed in it. But then over time, I realized, oh my gosh, this thing isn't real. Like, these people complain about it. And immediately right after, like, I couldn't sell this thing anymore. And so anyways, that's all to say, like, I just really believe in the mastery program because we've been doing this I've been a part of this for the last 6 years of my life. And ultimately have like basically dedicated everything to helping promote this and getting more artists to take this because it is so powerful. So anyways, that's my story. There's so many other artists with their stories that are so incredible. I encourage you to just like go out and read about these different artists' experiences. I think that the mastery program is really for everyone. So yeah, if you are interested in signing up for the mastery program, then you can click the link that we have in the chat. We are going to get to a few questions real quick. I apologize for taking my time, but yeah. Okay, so Michelle wanted to know, is the price of mentoring also increasing March 4th? No, it is not. The price of mentoring is staying. We are in the process of adding different mentoring options in the future, and those will be more expensive, but there will be a $200 a month option, as far as we can tell, for the future. So if you do pay $3,600, you buy the master program outright, you own the master program. If you want mentoring, that is an extra $200 a month. And that you can start or stop whenever it suits you based on, your experience. And if you, for whatever reason, don't like one of the mentor, or you don't like the mentor who's assigned to you, or you just feel like you're not getting the feedback that you want, you can absolutely change your mentor. We are totally happy to help you make sure that you have the perfect mentor for you, who is helping you throughout the program.
And our mentors are like all over the world, so we have different time zones to accommodate all the international students, sometimes different languages. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let me see. Trying to get to some other questions here.
I also wanted to mention just the 50 ways to lay down paint list that we created. Dino, you had that? Okay, so you guys got that list. You can print it out or, use it however you want, but that will be free for you guys to use. And yeah.
Okay, someone earlier talked about having, I don't remember the exact phrasing of the question, but I remember I glanced at it and I saw it. I believe her name was Jenny, and she had, I think I saw 7 kids under 9 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Wild, you're a trooper.
Wow.
That's amazing. And she wanted to know time management tips. So ultimately, there's different levels of time management, right? With 7 kids, you're going to need to be a master. And the beautiful thing is that you have access to the mastery program forever. So like you don't have to necessarily worry about graduating in 1 year or going at the same pace as everyone else. If you do want to, ultimately time management is a matter of priority. It's a matter of prioritization, right? With 7 kids, you can't just deprioritize your kids. Hey guys, sorry, take care of yourselves. I know you're all under 9 years old. I'm going to do this thing, right? But what you could do potentially is enlist as much help as possible that you have around you. So what I think it looks like is telling your friends and family, like, hey guys, like I really want to do this thing for myself. Like I'm just like, I wanted to sit down with you guys and ask you for your support, right? Like I decided to give myself permission to do this thing and I'm really passionate about it. I've always wanted to be an artist. And in order for me to do this, I need your help. And what helping me looks like is maybe 1 day a week, one of you guys helps come over and cook dinner and watch the kids from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. And that gives you a 3-hour chunk of time. And maybe another person can help take the kids to school. Or, maybe if you're homeschooling, help homeschool for 1 day, a specific subject, right? And maybe you give them a painting, as a gesture of your gratitude. Maybe it looks like waking up at 5 a.m. before the kids are up and cutting out TV altogether, right? Honestly, if you do that, it'll dramatically increase your creativity. Like cutting out TV, like actually is a huge unlock. It feels uncomfortable at first, but you definitely are more creative as a result of that. And it's looking at your schedule. I think it's being very diligent about planning your week out in advance. And it's about being really good at saying no. Like you have to become a master, very comfortable at saying no to other people, and protect your time. And I found that if you have a schedule and you just say like, I have this thing on my schedule, I got to do it. I can't move it. Sorry. I can't go out to dinner tonight with you guys. I apologize.
I think that's all very good advice, but this is like one other thing that may or may not work. Maybe it works from time to time, but you could try to paint with your kids, have them like involved in what you're doing and like, have their own little spot. I'm assuming like they would be like at least toddler or older. So
yeah, I mean, and listing the oldest, the older children to help you.
Totally.
I think a lot of times kids are looking for responsibility and they're looking to be useful. And, asking them, leveling with them, asking them for help watching the younger kids could be helpful too. When having 7 kids, once you get into the marketing section, you will have such an advantage in terms of like getting them to help you do stuff in the future. Like you have your own little army. That's awesome. Congratulations. Okay, just a couple more questions. Really amazing. Thank you so much for asking that. Jenny says, thank you for this. Definitely good at saying no. Very dedicated. Heck yeah, you're going to do it.
Cool.
Believe in you. Okay. Madame Christina wants to know, can you just get the mentoring sessions without doing the mastery program? I already have the skills. No, sorry, the mentors are just for our mastery program students because we have a very limited amount of mentoring spots available and we have to reserve them for our mastery students. So I believe we have less than 30 spots available right now. And we have more than 100 students signing up this month. So it's for the mastery program students. I apologize. Okay, Melissa said, I already have the oil paint and drawing supplies. Can the 20% be used towards another purchase? Melissa, if you email me and you've already purchased the oil painting and drawing kit, I can get you a 20% off discount for the mixed media kit if you want to get that. Good? Okay, Kim says she's joining finally. Heck yeah, Kim. Go Kim. Woohoo!
Okay, maybe we just do one last question. So if you guys have one last question, or do you know?
Okay. I am getting word that there's a document Okay, here we go. I got the notes page where we've been saving questions. Okay. I don't see. Okay. Someone wanted to know if they could change their mentor if they're
Yes.
not a good fit. You
Yeah.
absolutely can. So we did answer that. But just in case you didn't get that. Okay, so I want to end this just by saying whether your goal is to just gain more skills and to just realize the potential that you feel like you've known you've always had inside you, or whether your goal is to finally see your artwork on the walls of a gallery. You've dreamed of that your entire life. You've been fantasizing about having an entire exhibition just dedicated to you, or whether your goal is actually creating a whole career out of art and selling art and putting in the work to develop a following and to develop a consistent business and sell prints and sell your originals, or your goal is really to just find more joy in life through the creative process. I think the master program is perfect for you. I think that you will find the fulfillment that you're looking for. You'll find the answers that you're looking for in the mastery program because it is so comprehensive. It is so meticulously crafted to be the answer for artists. It really is world-class art education. So if you are interested in taking the mastery program, I highly recommend that you sign up today because today is the best day to sign up. Really, we hear from artists all the time that they just regret not signing up sooner. They watched our free workshops, they joined our master classes, they took a little course here or there from us, but ultimately they took the mastery program and they just wish that they did it sooner. Because every day that you put off pursuing your passion with the program is a day that you are not in your full destiny as an artist. It's a day that you do not have back after having taken the program and having all those skills and living your full true potential as an artist. So I highly recommend you sign up today. I really think you're going to enjoy it. And actually, we guarantee it. And if you don't love it after 30 days, please just send us an email. Let us know why. We want to make the program as best possible. Mastery program students, look out for that new acrylic course coming out soon. We're gonna hit your inboxes with an email letting you know. We'll message you in the app letting you know as well. And it'll just magically appear in your library. It's gonna be super awesome. We can't wait for you guys for all the new courses.
And then watercolor after that.
Yeah, and watercolors and business and a revamped voice section. We're actually redoing the entire thing. But it's all the same content. We're just updating. A lot of it's the same content. We're updating the quality of the filming. And it's going to be really amazing. You guys are going to love it. It's going to be the best investment. It is the best investment that you've made in your artistic journey. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Any last remarks you want to make the intro?
I had a lot of fun today, and I hope this was very inspiring. I hope that this makes you guys want to just get into your studio and start painting. And yeah, this was a lot of fun, and thank you, Jake.
I love being your assistant. Okay, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. Signing off now.
To be able to visualize things that you never thought possible, the experience is teaching us how to dream really big.
This whole experience taught me everything when it comes to being successful.
Behind me is one of my featured pieces. It's called Beautiful Hope.
This whole program has just been nothing but a blessing for me.
I learned so much in this art class.
How to be successful as an artist as far as even practical habits, figuring out more about your voice, figuring out more how to market.
They've prepared me for the real world.
And now
I get to step into my career as a professional artist.
The master program will be of great benefit to not just other artists, but also who have always thought that art is a hobby, that they cannot live off it.
I did not consider myself a professional artist.
You don't even have to be an artist to take something away from this.
I was working in hospitals as a respiratory therapist,
a sales manager.
I was a creative director. I'm a teacher.
This program gave me the confidence to pursue what I've always wanted to do.
I'm an artist. It's not just painting classes, it's also business classes. I found my voice.
What is my artistic voice?
Your personal aesthetic, what drives you, what motivates you, what is this message you want to tell to the whole world.
You start to see what it is that you're passionate about.
I really want to focus on giving back to the city.
Everything about the Mastery program is built in a way that supports you as an artist.
I love the community of artists.
Community there is so strong and powerful. Here you can find a group of people that will support you.
I've never seen a group of people that are just so willing to help lift each other up and sharpen each other's skills.
Seeing their work was so inspiring.
We're just encouraged to keep going.
And I can't explain how transformative it is.
It truly changed my life.
Each person is so unique in their expression.
And that's what's so beautiful about the program.
It's the most authentic experience you're going to get.
You can be successful in this program.
No matter what skill level you're at, it's a great program. They're very direct, very passionate. I just love it.
It was hard, but it was amazing.
I am a happy graduate.
I'm so much happier. I found my passion. So if art is really your passion, then it's definitely worth it.
Go to the Milan Art Institute.
Just do it, it's great.